Thank you all for being here promptly, and welcome to our May Financial Advisory Committee.
Usually do.
I think first up, we've got Mr. Laffey to give us some financial updates, one on bond refinancing and then unaudited financials. Are you there, Mr. Laffey? Hmm. Well,
He's downstairs working on a grant. He may not realize what time it is.
Well, and it is exactly 3 o'clock, so he may be trying to log in.
That might be why.
Do we
But
want
I can jump in right now in the
I was
process.
going to just ask if you would mind doing your part now, and then
I don't mind doing it at all. Hi, everyone. I'm Aaron Keating. I am the superintendent for now a whopping 9 weeks. Very exciting stuff. I am really excited that I'm here with everyone and settling in slowly. And hold on, I have to, for some reason, it's sharing the wrong screen. Do you see my prep PowerPoint or do you see Zoom?
we see the PowerPoint.
Oh, you do? Beautiful.
Yep.
I
Yep.
don't. So,
Okay, update on your first 6 weeks.
yeah, I don't see mine, but that works right now. So just to give you a little update on where I've been over the last couple 6 weeks, some big stuff is going on. These were the major projects that I kind of jumped into. First is that the new steel standards are coming out. And with that, our current configuration in elementary school, K-5, is that kids essentially have 6 weeks of social studies, then 6 weeks of science. Working with Mrs. Grebeck, we're going to look at modifying that to maybe a day-based schedule next year, where we do like 4 days on, 1 day off, 4 days of science, 1 day of social studies, and then kick in with some heavier social studies. Mrs. Grebeck and I also, with all of the K-5 elementary reading teachers, to look at integrating the social studies standards and the social studies nonfiction content into the ELA block, and they were excited to get working on that. So that was a big curricular initiative that we had to get moving on. The steel standards have to be in place by the start of the 25-26 school year. We're going to be proactive with these, which is awesome. Also working with Mrs. Grebeck, we're working on curriculum updates and also purchasing materials. The purchasing of materials is really important because we're building out a cycle. Cycles as part of the recovery plan, so that all of these materials, because we're going to use a lot of ARP ESSERS dollars to buy these materials, won't all come due at the same time. So Mr. Laffey was involved with that, Mrs. Grebeck administration, in building out that cycle, which helps with budget planning and preparation. We looked at safety and security. It is unfortunate in the city of Scranton right now. We do have a lot of poverty, and with poverty come a lot of social issues. We are in different violent acts amongst our students, possible gang activity. We know that there has been an increase in handgun crimes in the area. So we're working on making sure that our buildings are safe and secure. I did put a press release out. We've also increased security in certain areas of the city where we saw an uptick in issues. We had the ransomware issue that Mr. Laffey and his team worked through before I got here, but still working on updates with that. I have now been out to every single building in the district but Willard, which I'm going to tomorrow, and the Electric City Academy, which I'm going to next week. And then I will have done a visit to every building in the district. It's been awesome to stop and talk to people and to hear people's concerns and their excitement for the future. I've really been working on systemic communication. Every week, the entire district gets a weekly update from me on what I'm working on, what we're looking into, trying to break the walls down around the office of the superintendent. And then, unfortunately, because it's the time that we live in, I've spent a lot of time on legal updates. So that's been another area working with John Freund and the staff at Kingsbury that I've been working on. In addition to those things, which are my own goals, the board has also had some objectives and some work where I've been deeply involved. A lot of that work has been involved in operations and vendor relations, specifically with a lot of our construction projects that are taking place, the capital project improvements, the asbestos abatement that's taking place in the district that'll take place this summer, different capital improvement issues that needed to be updated because they were priority issues. So there's been a lot of time that I've spent living in that world. I'm much happier in the education side of the house, just so you know. I've been involved in the PDE finance committee updates, like recovery meetings that are required by the Department of Education. We did do a major capital projects review for the board of essential projects that need to be addressed in a very timely manner. Mr. Laffey and his team is working on grants to try to fund some of those projects, and they've been very, very busy and very, very productive. And then obviously school safety and security to the board is a huge priority. So those are some of the areas that I've been there. And just so you know, my big focus going into the 24-25 year, the primary focus, we can't read, we can't learn, and we really need to make sure that our kids have an advanced level of literacy and our teachers truly understand the science of reading. I am very happy to announce that this Friday, Randy Weingarten, who is the president of the American Federation of Teachers, will be here for a visit to one of our elementary schools and a strategy session to look at how we can partner with the AFT to help build that professional development system of structured literacy and the science of reading, and to help our kids, because in the end, that's what everyone is about, is helping our kids. We're also working to try to secure money with Mrs. Hemphill with restorative practice and restorative justice to look at keeping, obviously, the punitive discipline system we have, but then building in those support systems for our students so that when they come back after their consequence, or if they're consequence, we have some alternatives to really help kids so they don't make the same mistakes in the future. We have a very large meeting with mental health providers, with people from the juvenile justice system, and other members of the community, which will be spearheaded by Richard Gold, who's been working with us with a federal grant under the Bureau of Justice to look at trying to move this forward and secure funding for this across the areas. And then we're also going to do some systemic work in 24-25 with really looking at the impacts of poverty, because we are an impoverished district and a number of our students come from acute poverty, and also looking at, and we're really excited that national author and speaker Horatio Sanchez will be in to work with our administrative team in office in August, and then we'll be speaking to the entire staff at the opening in-service, and then coming back in October to work with us even further on building-based initiatives to really understand poverty and how everything works. So very busy first couple weeks, made it through my first 2 work sessions, made it through 1 board meeting. My next board meeting is next Monday. And it's been a really good ride. My family misses me. They haven't seen me in the last 9 weeks because I don't come up for air, but I promised them by next summer I will be back. So it's going to just be a short hiatus from them dealing with me. But, you know, thank you everyone who has reached out and who has been so kind to me upon my entry. And that's about all I have for you right now.
Thank you, Dr. Keating. Any questions for Dr. Keating on what she just presented?
No, Mr. O'Donnell just told me I didn't come to Prescott. For the record, I was in Prescott. The day I was supposed to be in Prescott, they decided to drill through a water pipe. So I was actually in Prescott until about 11 o'clock at night the night before. So I was in the building. I just wasn't in there with the kids.
Got it. Yes, you have been extremely busy, and it seems like you've been there forever, not 9 weeks. Yeah.
Yeah, a little wild.
Yes, exactly. And we're delighted to have you. So thank you for all you have done already and all the things you've got planned. It's exciting. Did we pick up Mr. Laffey yet?
Yes, I'm here. Sorry, I was a couple
There
minutes late.
you are. No problem. We just went into the fun stuff first. Uh,
Yeah,
so we'll let you take it away with the bond refinancing and the
the
budget.
borrowing. Yeah, the
Yes.
borrowing stuff. So again, thank you, everyone. It's nice to see everyone this month. Just two brief items. We are readily on our way with our 2023 audit for the general fund and all the district funds. But I'm happy to report that it appears that the district, again, these are unaudited and subject to change. But at the moment, the district's budget of $216 million, 216.5 million last year of revenues and expenses, which did include, as you can see here down in the 5200s, a $6.3 million transfer to the cap appears to be successful, and we appear to have grown our fund balance by about $2 million. So our fund balance, which was previously audited at 18.3 million, could potentially grow with the audited 2023s to almost 20.4. This consists of a committed fund balance of 2.5 million and the balance of it being related to being unassigned. The primary driver, again, we're still preparing the MD&A analysis, which is the management discussion analysis, to explain the variances from budget to actual, or at least variances that are material in nature. Looking at the local revenues, you'll see that we outperformed our budget by approximately 3.3 million. That was primarily driven by two areas. The first being our earned income tax, which you've heard me report before, has been one of our most successful local taxes, and that exceeded budget by approximately 1.3 million. And the second was a new tax of 2023, which was the payroll preparation tax. That was a new conversion. As you've heard us discuss, we deceased, or we canceled the levy of a business privilege mercantile tax in favor of that payroll preparation tax for a couple of reasons. But one being, just the potential for the organic growth related to the tax. The tax is tied directly to the payroll of businesses in the area rather than their gross receipts. So we, understanding that there would be a transition in the year, we did budget down in that category. But even our conservative approach, we returned about 4.3 million on a $3 million budget, or about 1.3 million above budget as well. So that's the primary driver for the difference in the local revenue. Federal revenues, as you heard me explain before, every revenue dollar has to be tied and directly accounted to a federal expenditure. So the coming in almost 4 over budget tells me that we had higher federal expenditures than we anticipated in the year. I believe one of those areas could have been the remodel of the of Robert Morris, which was assisted indirectly in funding with ESSER 2. So as you'll jump down to the expenditures, again, we came in over budget on expenditures, but primarily in two areas, in the 1000s and the 2000s, with the largest being almost $3 million in the services area. That's where we have our operations and maintenance. That's where we have our IT department, some of our contracted services for nursing and health, many of the areas that we have been funding with ESSER funds. So it at first glance, before we get into the line by line, that's most likely explainable to the fact that we're approximately 3.4 million over in federal revenue, and in and around that same dollar amount over budget on the expenses in categories that were historically or have been historically funded with some of our ESSER dollars. Again, so the unaudited amount is approximately just over $2 million of a surplus for the year of 2023. As the board, or as the administration prepares for the board a preliminary budget and we move into the fall, if this number holds true, the board will have the ability to potentially commit some of this additional fund balance or assign this fund balance areas of need, and one of them is the one that Dr. Keating just hit on. We've been reviewing with the board some of our capital improvements needs, which it's been well documented that they're vast. We are looking at again, grant opportunities, but having budgetary surpluses that can be committed for future capital needs is another tool that we can use to fund future capital improvements in the district. Any questions on slide number 1? I don't see any. So moving on to slide number 2. So recently, the district and our municipal advisors brought to the board for their consideration and recommendation that we look to either remarket or refund our 2016 A and B notes. The 2016 A and Bs were issued in term mode, which means that every 5 years or so, they would have to be either remarketed again or completely refunded. A remarketing would require remarketing within 5 years. Refunding allows the district to lock in the interest rate for the remainder of the life of these bonds, which is 10 years. So we're happy to report that most recently we successfully priced the new bonds of 2024 A and Bs on May 21st. Again, the school board did issue the authorization for this at our May meeting. In total, it's approximately $8.3 million of debt. It did not increase the amount of debt covering the cost of issuance, as you'll see here. It was to pay the remaining par amounts and pay the cost of issuing of the bonds. And again, it did not extend the final maturity, which is listed here as June 34th. It wasn't a slam dunk decision as to which to either refund or remarket. Ultimately, the interest rate differential was so close that the ultimate decision was made to let's refund this issuance, lock it in for the remaining 10 years of the life of the bond, and then or limit the exposure to any interest rate risk that could come up in 5 years if we had another mandatory term mode remarketing. So we're happy to say that the closing date is set for June 14th, 2024, and everything is in order to, I believe, successfully refund this and close this matter in a timely manner. With that, there does come a brand new debt service schedule. So this currently here is, well, let's go here first. This is a requirements. It lists all the issuance, and I'm sorry it's small. Let me see if I can zoom in. Can you zoom in on PDF? I'm not sure if I have that capabilities, but in total, it lists all the issuances, the remaining years that we have to make principal and interest payments, which obviously extend down to 2045, and the total outstanding debt for the district, which you cannot see, but it's approximately $304 million, $304.8 million.
Bottom right of your screen, you can zoom in. The magnifying glass, I believe, is down there.
Okay, you guys were hidden. You guys were hiding it on me. So, there we go. So $304.8 million is the estimated outstanding principal and interest debt of the Scranton School District. The district also has projects that qualify for reimbursement from the state of Pennsylvania through PlanCon, jumping up to second look at this. This is our net outstanding debt service requirements, which again lowers down to $224,000. So there's on an annual basis, the district budgets about $1 million in PlanCon reimbursements, which is the state's share of reimbursing us for these eligible projects for construction that were done in the past. And that is all I have this evening. You happy to answer any questions?
Any questions for Mr. Laffey? Well, certainly is good news on the budget from last year, if your numbers hold, and I'm fairly confident that they will. So that's great. Any questions from anyone on the committee? Any items that you would like to see discussed at our next meeting?
Dr.
Oh.
Saylor, I talked to Mr. Laffey. I'd like to set up a calendar for next year for the meetings where we kind of have a central topic for each of the months, and it's prepared ahead of time so people know that we'll be discussing special ed or English learners, or we'll be looking at curriculum revisions, and we have a concentrated focus for each month, along with Pat's financial update.
That's a great idea. I love it. Yes.
And then that way people can be prepared.
Right. And if they have anything in particular, any questions in particular about the topic, they can actually submit them ahead of time. And we won't have any of those. I don't know. I'll get that answer for you. Excellent. Now, do I recall correctly that the district in the past has not met over the summer?
Pat said no.
I believe that is the correct answer. I don't know if it was June and July. There was certainly a break that was taken. Let me see if I can. Not sure if anyone on the committee recalls, but
I'll check too, Pat.
I feel like there was a June one, and then July and August was off, but I could be wrong.
There was a June one held June 21st of 2023. Let me check July. I don't see anything. I don't see anything in July. And let me check August. And I don't see anything in August.
Okay, so Mr. Wolf, you were correct. So we will, that's your one for today.
The next one resumed September 27th of 2023.
Excellent, thank
Dr.
you.
Dr. Saylor, I'll take the 1 for 1. I'm walking away out on top.
Okay, you got it. Very good. We will then plan on a June meeting and nothing in July and August, and resume in September. And Dr. Keating will have a list of topics for the year so everyone knows what's coming up. Excellent. Thank you all so much. 22 minutes. Outstanding. Take care. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Thank you. You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye now.